Hello, dear ones, and welcome back to the Magic and Meaning Beyond Motherhood interviews series, where I have conversation with inspiring child-free women who have created a life for themselves that they love. Yeah, a life that the title, implies like a life that doesn't include children in a world where still, often that question of having children is unquestioned. Yeah. And yeah, today's guest is Megan Udy, correct? Okay.
Perfect. You got it.
Megan and we met through the Feminine Business Mastermind that we are both part of with Ainsley Young. And when I started to speak more about the child-free life and mothering beyond motherhood on my Instagram account, Megan was one of the first women who kind of reached out to me, and she was intrigued and she wanted to know more. And then we got talking, yeah. And that also kind of then led us to have this recorded conversation, so you can also hear more about her story. Yeah. Megan is a bespoke salon owner and she's a stylist mentor. And today we are going, to hear from her, how she has come to live child-free with joy and a lot of purpose. And definitely recently, so much magic happening around her heart business too. All right. So, Megan, it's a joy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit, where are you calling in from and what time is it there? What's alive for you right now?
Yeah, so I am in Saskatoon, Canada. It is evening here, and I have had just a busy day kind of doing things for myself. It's been wonderful.
I love that. A busy day doing things for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool that we can have this conversation across the oceans, I always love that about, Zoom and these technologies. Yes. Okay. So, Megan, I was very inspired when I heard your story when we spoke the first time. And, tell us how was it for you? Did you always know that you wanted to live a child-free life, or is this something that became clear as you went along in your life? Is it something that just kind of developed? Tell us your story around this.
Corinne, it's interesting that you said I was one of the first people that reached out to you with your Instagram post, because it was the community, the conversation that I felt like I was missing in my life, that I had been searching for, because for so long I knew that I didn't want to have children, that I didn't want to mother children, and that I wanted to live a more creative life. And so growing up in the world that we live in, that's the expectation. And so it was really something that I felt I had to keep quiet about, even though there was really a strong sense of wanting to be child free really my entire life.
Yeah, so your entire life, like you also then told me, like you said that yes, you had it always, you kind of knew always, but then there was a time in your life, I think around 25, when a lot of friends around you started to have children. And can you tell us a little bit more how that affected you back then?
Yeah. When my friends started having kids, I went through this really challenging time for myself, because I saw them kind of moving away and starting these families, which I obviously support and love that they're having their families. I love their children. And it's a really amazing thing to get to see my friends become mothers and be such amazing mothers. But for me, it put me in this place where there was this internal pressure of, I might not get to see them unless I have a child. That was almost what came into my mind. And so I ended up battling in my mind just about like, do I need to have a child in order to be able to keep these friends that I love? And so it really was a thought. It didn't go on very long, I will be honest, but I had some honest conversations with friends who just reached out and said that just because they have friends, they think, or they have kids, they think that maybe I don't want to hang out with them. And so once we kind of came to the understanding that we can still be friends, even though I don't have kids and they do, then it's been a beautiful thing to kind of see our friendships grow.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful that you speak to about that, because I think that is something a lot of women who, you know, are child free are going through at some point in their lives, because the majority of people at this point in age, you know, they're still opting in for having children. Yeah. And I agree, like you know, like I love hanging out with friends who have kids, and I love hanging out with friends who don't have kids. Like I don't really make you know, this, I feel like we all bring different things to the plate. Yeah, with like the different ways of how we create, because becoming a mother and creating a child obviously is also a very creative way of being, and mothering is also, you know, takes a lot of creative energy in the way I see it. But I would like to now learn a little bit more, you know, with you of how, because I think sometimes when we talk, well, society sometimes thinks that women who are child free, well, what kind of purpose do they then have? You know, what kind of legacy are they gonna leave behind? Because so much around that is kind of, when you have kids, that's kind of almost like a given. There's a big purpose and you're leaving a lineage behind. Whereas if you're a woman who doesn't have kids, it's different, right? So we are finding meaning and giving our life meanings and purpose in other ways. And so tell us a little bit of how you have, you know, found meaning and purpose in your life, in the way you've been creating.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, because I think it does seem so clear for mothers. Their defining role is that they are a mother, and they have created their children, this family, and that's where they put their energy. And so for a lot of them, they can't see what I'm doing or what I'm doing with my energy. And I still feel like a very creative person. I've created a really successful salon business, and working in the business mastermind with Ainsley Young as well to kind of progress and grow different avenues of that. And I also just love to use my creative energy, you know, to exercise, to do yoga, to read, to cultivate stronger relationships with people. You know, I feel like I have the space and the energy to deeply listen to my friends and to my family, and be able to support them in ways that maybe those that are, you know, mothering and have young kids can't always show up in that way. And so I really feel like that's a way that I kind of differ from those with children. And I'm so happy to be able to bring that to my own group and community, and to be able to show up in the world that way.
And do you feel like also, you know, so you're obviously you creating your business, right? It's like your baby, yeah, your child that you see growing up and developing as well. So see, like in the way when you think of creative energy, because I know you also went to see an acupuncturist, I think 1 or 2 years ago, to you know, do some healing work and energy work around the womb space, yeah, which really is a woman's, you know, center, you know, of creative power. Yeah, I actually, in my view, that's where the creative cycle blueprint is for a woman, because the way we cycle in our menstrual cycle, and even if we don't have, you know, and you know, we maybe had reproductive organs removed, but the blueprint of that creative, you know, being that we are is always there. It will always remain there. The energy is always there. And I see like women like who don't procreate, we use that energy in different ways. We work with that energy in different ways. And yeah, tell us maybe a little bit more about that visit to the acupuncturist. What brought you there? You know, why did you do that? What was intriguing about that?
I love that way of looking at the womb space. That it's a blueprint of creation coming from that space. That's beautiful. Yeah, so a few years ago, I actually went on a trip and kind of just came back with this business idea. And it was really just this spark that was sitting in me, and I could feel it. And I just felt like I couldn't feel it in my entire body, that it was just this tiny glow. And so I went to see my sister-in-law, who is an acupuncturist, and she specializes in infertility and helping women conceive. And so I really just felt like if anyone's going to help me feel this in my body, she is. And so I booked an appointment. I went to see her, and in our consultation, I just said, you know, I want to conceive this business idea. I want to know if my body is capable of growing this into something. And I really feel like this little spark, this glow needs to expand into all of me in order to be able to see the bigger picture, to be able to see how it's going to help people. And so she performed acupuncture and some Reiki on me. And it was this really beautiful experience, at the end of which we had a conversation, and she just told me that, you know, I was grounded. It was within me to birth this business idea, and I was fully capable of doing it. And that was exactly what I needed to hear. And that was just such a special experience to have.
Wow. And also, can you see how that's quite a unique approach that you have taken? Because this is certainly not like the norm that women would go to an acupuncturist because they want to conceive that idea, baby.
Yeah.
Embody that more. Like I just think this is also so incredibly intentional, you know, like of you to, like you had that glow, as you say, you felt the desire, and then to honor that and to let this come through you, because that's what we are, right? We are all vessels. Every woman is a vessel for these, you know, creative things, whatever that will be, to come through. And I think it's beautiful how you did that and how you supported yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, at the time, I definitely felt a little crazy going and talking to my sister-in-law about it. I knew that if anyone would understand, she would be the person, and she had zero questions when I asked her to, you know, bring me this energy healing. And so I'm very thankful for her in that way too. But yeah, I think as women, I know, especially for myself in my 20s, I've spoke to you before about how I felt like my body was very utilitarian, and I didn't feel like, I didn't feel this creative energy the same way that I do now. And I think it's so important to be able to channel that energy. You know, it's within all of us women. And so we are the vessel, but it's really giving, I think, that energy some direction so that we can create something really meaningful.
Yeah, and knowing that it is okay, that whatever we long to use that energy for, you know, whether it is children, whether it is idea babies, whether it is both, that this is entirely up to us, right? Because I think this is sometimes, this is the piece we are not really taught, right? When we start menstruating, it's always almost like, you know, menstrual health is important because of, if you want to have a child at some point, it needs to work. Yeah, but like from an energetic point of view, it is important too to kind of understand your cycle and flow with your cycle as long as you are, you know, cycling. So yeah, this is really, really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to have that awareness. You know, I probably did feel that energy in my 20s, but I struggled with that expectation to use that creative energy to conceive a child, not to conceive a business or to create a business or to use that creative energy in other ways. And so I think I kind of, I maybe pushed that energy down because I didn't fully embody everything that I could do with it and the potential that it had in other ways than birthing a child.
Yeah, probably because we have not been taught the full story, right? As we enter this you know, chapter of womanhood, from girl to womanhood. Yeah. Something we are here to change.
Yes.
Yes. Also, you know, we talked about that briefly the other time, around how, for me, you know, nurturing and caring and can happen, you know, in other ways. And that's, for me, we can mother in other ways or be maternal in other ways beyond with our children. And in what ways have you noticed, do you do that? You said that a little bit before, for example, in the way you hold space for relationship, for friends, yeah, for really being able to listen. Are there other ways, and for yourself as well, nurturing yourself? And that is such a big part. Like, we all as women, you know, we need to learn how to mother ourselves as well, to include ourselves in that care and nurturing. And I think child-free women, or at least all the child-free women that I've been speaking to so far, I think we really have taken that on, that mothering self, how important that is as well. And we do have more time. Let's be honest. If you don't have children, you have maybe not more time, but you're freer to use your time and juggle your time, right? So yeah, is there anything else you feel like you wanna speak to here, to that nurturing, caring bit of how as women we can live that without having children?
I have to thank you for our previous conversation about pointing out, this whole nurturing bit, because I knew that I was doing it, but now that I have a bit more awareness around it, it's even more special because I appreciate it, I think, even more. I work in a service industry, and so I really feel like I nurture and care for all of my clients. I hold a lot of space for them. I think that's how I've been able to grow such a successful business, is making those connections. I also think with my spouse, I'm able to give him far more attention, and we make constant date nights and just really carve out time to be together and hold space for one another in that way too. And so I think that's another nurturing bit as well. That I hadn't really appreciated probably before. I knew that we were doing it, but because that's been our whole relationship, I was like, yes, this is how it is. But for those with kids, their time is far more structured, and mine is a little bit more like an elastic band. I can move my schedule around and make it what I want. And because of that, I'm able to nurture myself. I have such a beautiful morning routine, and I am so grateful to be able to take care of myself, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, so that I can continue to create, because I think it's hard to kind of draw that creative energy from you unless your cup is full and you even just have the carved out time to be able to sit and come up with something.
Yeah, and filling your cup, right? And then kind of give from that full cup.
Yeah.
And you know, I think, I mean, you've been married for 17 years, is that correct?
Yeah, I've been with my partner for 17 years. Yeah.
And you know, this is another thing that I see. A lot of child-free women have been in long-term committed relationships. Yeah. And yeah, is that like that quality time? Because I know for me, like having really quality time and good, like solid time for conversations with my husband has always been, I think as a small child, I kind of knew this is something I really would want to have with the guy I'm, you know, going to be married to and live hopefully a long life with. Has that been, you know, how is that for you, that a quality time with your beloved? Has that always been important?
Yeah, I think it really has been, definitely since the beginning of our relationship. That time, I think we both value the time together, value quality time together, and really carve out that time so that we can connect. You know, I think we're always looking for those moments where we can actually connect and really see each other.
And as a couple, you also told me how you are feeling into, you know, into the future around, you know, when we get older, you know, child-free couples, as we get older, there's not going to be any children around, right? So I think that is something in all of our minds. How is this all gonna play out when we are in our more mature age? Yeah. And this is some, like, you kind of have a bit of a vision there, right? Of how that could be for you guys.
Yeah, we definitely have another creative vision there. We've had several conversations. It's an ongoing conversation with a group of friends of ours to be able to live together, create almost like our own care home in some capacity, and live in some mansion and hire our own healthcare and everything that we need, and support ourselves on that level, at least, so that expectations, you know, I still have nieces and a nephew, so I would, you know, love for them to be able to come around, but without the expectation or burden on them to be caring for me later in life.
Yeah. Beautiful. And on that too, like when you said friends, you know, you told me a couple of times since we started to talk, you actually started to talk more with your child-free friends about this conversation we have been having. And I'm curious, just also for listeners, you know, there are probably child-free women listening here. Maybe they feel a bit alone with that, you know, topic. And in what way has it, what has it changed maybe a little bit since you started to speak more about the things we now talk about here with your child-free friends? Like, yeah, can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, I think the biggest change has probably been for me. I'm feeling far more confident about expressing that I'm child-free, that I love my life as child-free, that I still am able to nurture and I love the people around me. I'm not selfish, and I'm able to own a lot of those things that I think are typically labeled to those who are child-free. And so that's been really empowering for me to kind of really just stand in who I am. And through that, I've initiated so many conversations. I have a pretty equal split of friends with kids and friends who are child-free. And so just starting that conversation with them to, I think, let them know that it's okay, and I'm here to have that conversation with them, that they probably, like me, felt there was no one really to talk to about it, and to just get some of those feelings out of self-doubt, or like, this is what I want, but I don't have anyone to say it to who's not going to pass judgment on me, or any of those things.
Yeah, 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 that's beautiful, because I think we, as a child-free woman, you're still a bit of a novelty, a bit of a, you know, another woman brought up, a bit of a rebel when you look at, you know, society. Also depends a bit where maybe you live in the world, but it's definitely still a bit more on the unusual side rather than the norm. And I think also because of how our history as women, right? If we go back her story, hundreds and then thousands of years, it's just, we are that part, that the creatress kind of archetype part, who is within every woman, it has not really been celebrated, except for the procreation bit. Yeah. And not so much, or sometimes not, like really being kind of pushed away, didn't even want to be seen as, you know, like, because it's powerful. A woman who is creative and who can create her life is a very powerful human being. Yeah. And so there's also, yeah, I think with getting more in touch with your creative power and really owning that, you get more in touch with your power. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the self-doubt that we sometimes carry can be not even our own stuff, but it can also be, you know, stuff being passed on subconsciously from lineage to lineage. Yeah. And to own being child-free, it takes a bit of, I think, for most women, like, you know, really healing and yeah, looking at our own story and talking about it, and then we own it more and more. Yeah. Because I think we often also still you know, so often we just ask, well, are you going to have children, or why don't you have children? So there's always kind of this view on the what you don't have versus what you actually do have, because the child-free life comes with a lot of other opportunities. Yeah. And that is not so much highlighted, and that's what we are doing here, right, with having this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing that I would love to bring attention to is child-free by choice or circumstance puts you in this place where there are choices that have been made. And I think there are too often women who are child-free and are nurturing themselves are told, you're lucky. Oh, you're lucky. You've got all that time. Oh, you're lucky. Of course, you can create this business because you don't have kids. You don't have this other thing. But I think it's important to remember that even if you are child free, you still have to create something. You still have to make choices and celebrate those choices in order to really live the life that you desire. I think I often see younger women who are kind of in this floating space where they're child free, but they aren't using their power to do anything. They could be so much more.
There could be so much more matching and meaning in that way, right? Yeah. I hear you. And there's lots of, I think we have to make choices again and again in life, right? And we have these different transitions and transformations as well in our lives, right? Like from being maybe employed to becoming a salon owner. Yeah. That's huge. That's a huge transformation right there. Yeah. And yes. Yeah. There's a lot of choosing and like knowing our desire and then making choices and owning those choices.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Is there anything, Megan, that you feel like you still want to share? I mean, I think you already shared so like what you actually did just now with that thing was beautiful. Is there anything else you would like to say to the women who are listening, or men?
Yeah. I definitely want to say to anyone who is child-free, I celebrate you. I celebrate your choices. Please create and put all of those idea babies out in the world so that everyone can live a more fulfilled life. The other part that I would love to speak to is something that I recently kind of came into awareness over, and that was that I had avoided a lot of conversations around being child-free until we started talking, and I just thought that that was the easier thing to do because as a hairdresser, I get asked daily, when am I having kids? Am I having kids? And so for me, I was like, okay, I'm done answering this question. And so I avoided it with the wrong people, with my friends and family. And I now realize that having those honest conversations to say, you know, like, I'm child free and I'm really happy in my life. So quit asking. And I think that also supports my friends and family who I didn't think about their friends are asking them, you know, when is Megan having a child? And so they can also kind of stand in and support me in that way, and let other people know that I'm happy. I'm not feeling less than, I'm not feeling like I'm missing something. I'm very fulfilled and I'm contributing to the world in a beautiful way. And I think that that's to be celebrated.
That's to be celebrated, and I celebrate you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, really, thank you just for coming into this conversation and sharing so openly. And yeah, it's so inspiring to hear your story and your wisdom around this. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you and to share. This has been healing for me too.
Yeah, thank you. Also, so if women want to get in touch with you, follow you, see what you're up to, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way, feel free to reach out to me, is probably on Instagram. I'm at Bespoke Salon Studio.
Bespoke Salon Studio. Wonderful. Yes. And I will also put it in the show notes. All right. Well, that was Megan Udy today from, I'm not going to say the Saskatchewan. Somewhere in Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
I never said that name. I've heard of it many times before. Yes, and yeah, if you want to listen to other conversations with other inspiring child-free women, you can do that here on YouTube, or you can go on my website. They're all there. And if you are a woman who is looking to find magic and meaning beyond motherhood, then also go and check out my group coaching program that is launching soon, and see if that is for you. Yeah, I would love to hear more from you if that is. All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Until next time. Bye-bye.